Recording in progress.
Eight by eight entrance to the office area and a freestanding pre-built sauna that will be in the backyard. So I've opened any questions or comments.
It meets all the setbacks. I think there's no questions, setbacks or like that.
Yes, sir.
Any new lighting, exterior lighting?
Yes, the outs on the back, I think I saw it on the last page. There you are. Yep, it's a night sky compliant LED light that will replace approximately 50 white globe lights that are outside of the rooms presently that are not night sky compliant. They're very
So
dated.
you're just replacing the lights in the same
Exactly.
location they were,
Yeah.
compliant lights.
Correct.
That's great.
We're excited to improve it.
Design,
Well, it didn't come
the thing
before
comes,
us.
oh, that's right, it's not design.
I don't have,
It looks
I don't
pretty-
have, I don't have any question.
It looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah, no, I think it looks great. I do. Do you have any questions? I don't have any questions.
Any questions from the audience?
I'll make a motion to approve it as presented.
All in favor?
I
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, Depot Street LLC, Mark Greenberg, 575 Depot Street. Applicant is proposing to demolish the building located at 575 Depot Street.
Thank you.
Sort of tell the truth, like with the truth?
I certainly do.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you, all of you on the commission, for putting in your time and your effort into what is most likely something that you're not rewarded for. And it takes a lot of dedication to put this time and effort in, so I want to thank you. The reason why I'm here is I'd like to demolish the building you all know as Firefly Building. Firefly Building has no part in the Valvoline application that you've been looking at for the last 6 months. It will not have any part in any future development. If you deny Valvoline, there'll be another application. That application, and that assumes for the moment that the Valvoline folks don't sue the commission based upon the decision. In the event that they don't, and I provide another application, it will not include the Firefly Building. The Firefly Building is old, but it's not historic. It's not in the historic district. And even though some people here would like it to be in the historic district, it is not in the historic district. I believe it's incumbent upon this commission to make a decision based upon the facts, based upon the statute. I'm standing here also as a private citizen in what I think is a free country. I own this property, and it's my decision that this building is coming down. It's going to come down. It's gonna come down because you're going to agree to allow me to bring it down, or it's gonna come down because I'm gonna do absolutely nothing to keep it there. The raft is gonna fall, the window's gonna cave in, it's coming down.
The Firefly. Oh,
I don't know who that is.
Echo. Ah,
Who's that?
So, back to my little half speech. I appreciate your efforts and I hope that you vote, hope you vote tonight, if possible, to grant this permission for me to demolish the building. Thank you very much.
We don't vote tonight.
You know,
No, we don't vote. What we do is, we'll hear testimony and then write up a set of findings. And we have 45 days to produce a set of findings.
yes, and I believe that 45 days with regard to the Valvoline application is the 18th of January.
This is a separate application.
Yes, it is. Yes.
It'll be 45 days from the date of this hearing.
Thank you very much.
Were you the owner of the building back, have you had it a while?
3 years.
Okay, 3 years.
Yes, 3 years. I took it over from a family that owned the gas station earlier, and I've done my best to try to run that gas station. Not easy. Not easy to find people to work. Not easy to keep the USC tanks in the ground and working and operating. It's not been a good experience for me. And in my personal opinion, I'd rather have the Valvoline than my gas station. And by the way, while I'm here and I'm speaking, I might as well say, there's been various issues about numbers of people coming out of the Valvoline under the application, and I think they indicated about 50 per day. I have 150 POS receipts a day, 3 times that number. The number of people who come in and out of my little stinking stupid gas station.
That's a different.
I know. Oh,
That's a different-
I'm venting.
Well,
Okay.
that's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. I guess is there questions from the audience? Yes, sir. Your name?
Dick Smith,
Okay. And you are,
pretty simple.
um,
I'm a resident of Manchester, past president of the Manchester Historical Society, 3-time, 3-year term elected trustee of the Vermont Historical Society in Montpelier and Barre. Had written several history books on Manchester and Vermont.
okay.
Also an engineer, but forget that. It was like handouts because people can write notes.
Right.
These are different. These are different.
Usually, and I don't know, Peter, if you explained to him, usually all documents are submitted a week in advance. But I mean, we usually get documents a week in advance, not the night of the hearing,
This one.
because we don't have time to review this whole
Didn't know that.
document. And
Well, then,
that's,
fair enough. I mean, mea culpa. But I'd like to sort of run through it. Thank you. Just briefly, I hear you. Just, the covering sheet there is approval, Manchester Town Plan, you know, if you appeal, it's based on the policies, terms, and purposes of the Manchester Town Plan and the ordinance. We speak a lot of the ordinance, but the town plan comes into a big effect in an appeal.
the ordinance is, the ordinance is what we go by. The ordinance is the law, the ordinance as written. That's how we approve or not approve a project. The ordinance tries to shadow the town plan. But it's the ordinance is what we go by.
But the ordinance also refers to the town plan.
It does.
Yeah. All right. So if I could just
Okay.
skip ahead. Manchester Town Plan approved by the Select Board, 5-0, 7 months ago. Approved by the Planning Commission. I just want to say, this is very recent. It's an 8-year plan, and it's only been in effect 6 months. It's about 100 pages. If you look at the second page here, from page 1, paragraph 1, line 1, the Manchester Town Plan, it says, wait a sec. My Walmart readers here. Manchester is a quintessential New England community with a historic core, surrounded by rural pastures and fountains and backdrops. This town will serve for strengthening and protecting these qualities. Applicant has not demonstrated how demolishing a historic property. And I'll go into that. He said something it's a historic property by the state definition.
So you're stating that it is a historic property
Yes,
registered with the state of Vermont,
pardon?
registered with the
It
state.
doesn't have to. It fits there.
Suzanne?
Hey, Tim.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I guess the question is, does a historic property have to be registered with the state of Vermont to be considered a historic property in this situation?
So hopefully, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Suzanne Armour from Wilmington, Campbell, Benton, Stasny. So as we're interpreting the ordinance, so as Tim mentioned, we look, the statute and the regulations that carry out the town plan are all housed in the ordinance. And the town ordinance actually defines historic structure, and it's a specific definition, and that's at 13 point, let me see if I can get there. Hang tight. Bear with me. So, okay, so the ordinance defines historic structure as a structure that is either A, listed individually on the National Register of Historic Places, which is maintained by the U.S. Department of Interior, or preliminarily determined by the Secretary of Interior as meeting the requirements for that listing, is certified or preliminarily determined by the Secretary of Interior, again, federal, as contributing to the historic significance of a registered historic district, or a district preliminarily determined by Department of Interior to qualify as registered historic. C, individually listed on a state inventory of historic places in states with historic preservation programs that have been approved by the Secretary of Interior. So that would be Vermont's the Vermont Historical Preservation Office, or individually listed on a local inventory of historic places in communities with an approved historic preservation plan that's been certified by Interior or the state. So I don't see on here, and I do, it's up to the board if you all want to continue to allow the testimony. I think it's worth hearing, Mr. Smith. But I do not see in the ordinance regulatory definition of historical that it just has to meet the definition of that it might qualify. It actually has to be listed in a state program to qualify as a historic structure under the ordinance. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess one of the questions I have is probably 10.
Can I respond to that?
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean to start off the meeting arguing with a lawyer because I'm not one, but that's not what I said. I didn't say historic structure. I said historic property, and I go to the second page. VS 22, VSA 701 defines historic property or resource, meaning any building, structure, object, district, area. This is page 2. Is significant in the history, architecture, archaeology, or culture of the state, its communities, or nation. Nothing in there about being certified. That's the Vermont statute. It's not defined in the Manchester definitions. I didn't mean all that other stuff is irrelevant, in my opinion. Sorry, I don't.
That's more of an attorney question. I couldn't
Yeah,
answer
I
that.
know.
one.
What supersedes what then? Like what, or is that even the correct?
There's no supersede, it's just
No.
for the statement that's correct. It's a
Okay.
historic property based on the definition of state statutes,
Okay,
not requiring certification.
okay.
Yeah, and I think just to circle back, I think it would be worthwhile for the board, just my recommendation is to hear Mr. Smith out and take under advisement what he's providing to you. I don't think it's useful in this context to get into, because I don't have what he's looking at. And so I can't do a legal analysis on the fly of kind of the context of what we're looking at.
Okay.
So I think it's useful to just hear it out, take it under advisement, and go on from there. And because I don't think it's a good use of our time for us to argue about it, and let him
Right.
provide his testimony.
Thanks.
You bet.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Continue, please.
All right, it says, so the first line, the first page, historic codes. Cores define Manchester ordinances zoning. There's only, what is there, 12 zoning districts, maybe 11? 3 are the core. Firefly is one of the core. It's a historic property. Property, not structure, property. Doesn't have to be certified. The other key word in that statement is significant. I put down all the reasons it's significant. I've been through this in 20 years, 100 times. The depot, could we have that graph up there? I mean, just so the audience can. The one with it'll stop. Yeah, that's the Wayside exhibit. It's an interpretive panel. It's been there for about 10 years in the historic district. And the key is in the definition of historic property, not structure. The key is it also mentions area. And that shows the area. The map on the lower left shows, oh, I didn't say it. It's approved by the select board. And notice how it says Manchester Depot, not Manchester Depot Historic District. And that was approved by the select board and the town manager. Very careful about that. So it's a historic property in Manchester Depot. The district. All right, the next page, if you flip, is the building's been on the same corner in the community for 150 years without major changes. It's older than the buildings in the historic district. The next page, Manchester Depot. This is from a 1909 map. Notice how the arrow shows Firefly. Manchester Depot runs right through it. So the concept of Manchester Depot, as opposed to Manchester Depot Historic District, fits into the definition of historic properties. It's part of the depot. Here's a sign off for that wayside. They call it wayside exhibit. It's an interpretive panel. Here's the town manager. He mentions the Fullerton Marble Works, which provided 10% of the Civil War gravestones. It's very significant. Civil War and Depot Street historic area. John Heath says the same thing. Visitors and local and national people are interested in Civil War and commercial development, intended audience. Next page. All of those approval of one or all of the characteristics of historic property, not structure, because structure is included in the definition of property. Manchester Historical Society, town manager, select board, Champlain, Beers Atlas, go on, the books, Manchester Town Plan, architect, AIA, preservation architects, testimonials of community members, and so on. Summary, demolishing of the building, the Firefly building in the Manchester Town Plan, the tearing down of the building, an historic property, is contrary to the Manchester Town Plan and would destroy the historic core. That's from line 1, the Manchester Town Plan. The applicant has not shown the demolishing of the Firefly building, an historic property, not structure, would strengthen and protect the historic core. How can you demolish that and not protect the core? Now, my next little. I apologize, I didn't know all these regulations here. But here. Thanks. Sorry, I ran out of staples, so. Don't unclip it or you're dead. There you go. Here, guys. Thank you. Right. This again is from the plan. Plan part 3, plan development and implementation. If you read the action, this is on page, I think, 96 from the plan. Apply to the Vermont Division of Historic Preservation for expansion of historic districts. Responsibility, town staff, planning commission, design advisory committee, the partners. We're not responsible, but it's Manchester Historical Society. So if this is approved to demolish, you're restricting the town staff, the planning commission, and the design advisory of performing their duties. How can you expand it? Now, the question is, well, is it worth expanding? Everyone says, not everyone. Some people say,
So the question I've got on that is, you're talking about expanding the historic district or maybe getting that building is considered a historic building?
I'm sorry, what?
Talking about expanding the historic district or calling that a historic building in the future is what you're saying? I'm not.
Well, I'm just reading from the plan, expand the historic district. That would be up to the application. They could include Miles, the office building, which is actually the Fullerton Market, but
You're talking about expanding it at some point in time, is that correct? Is that what you're saying, or I'm not?
I'm just saying what the plan says.
Right.
Apply to the Vermont Division for expansion.
And they were probably, I mean, that was supposed to have been done for spring, so.
Right. But if at this point in time, it's not, you're trying to get it so it would be historic, because I'm not sure we were.
In other words, Dick, are you saying it's the responsibility of the staff, town staff, planning commission, and the design advisory committee to apply to the Vermont Division of Historic Preservation for future oriented, or are you saying it was our responsibility in the past? Like,
In the future, this is a plan for the next 8 years.
Right, again, but I understand what you're saying here, but the problem is what we have to go by is how the ordinance is at this point in time. It's no different than saying, all of a sudden, well, someone wants to build a house over here, but it's not zoned for that. Well, let's change the zoning so they can build a house over there. It's kind of the same. We have to go, the date of the application and how our ordinance, the ordinance at the date of the application is what we have to go by. We can't say, well, let's hold off on this a little bit and see, maybe we can make this a historic site or any other site in town. We have to go by what the ordinance is at the time of the application.
Right, and the ordinance reference the plan, which says apply for the district.
But I guess in stating that, it's assumed that the town would include that. So you're making the
But even if
assumption.
they did,
I know, I
even if they
understand.
did, it wouldn't make any.
That's
at this
correct.
point
But,
in time.
but in the statement that Dick is referencing, the assumption is that this property and that building would be included. That's the assumption, even if we apply for it today.
That is probably correct, but I'm saying apply as a district. It may also include, but that's the negotiation and application. It may include the railroad station, which is on the National Register. It may, this is
And they may not,
apply,
and they may not include those.
and it may not. It may, yeah.
I mean, because I know
What I'm about to present.
probably about 20, I think it was 20 years ago or so, maybe, if not 15 years ago, we approved vinyl siding. I can't remember who the owner was at the point in time, but the siding on that building was all falling apart. And I can't remember who the owner was at the time, but they applied to put vinyl siding on a good portion of the building and changed a lot of the characters of the building. And we don't, if at that point in time, and that was years ago, if it was considered historic, then we wouldn't have allowed that. Or they would have had to get a waiver to allow us to do it. But we allowed that, and it wasn't, at that point in time, it wasn't.
My understanding is that was self-declared on the part of the applicant, that they said, no, it's not historic, so they could put the vinyl siding on. So isn't it?
That's fine.
Kind of a self-healing sort of statement.
Okay. But I'm just saying that, I'm just a little history here of what we approved or not approved before. So if the applicant lied before and said it wasn't, oh, I don't know. But I'm just saying that there was no testimony in the contrary, whether or not it was or wasn't.
Application is a formal thing. It's not a discussion here with lawyers or me or anybody else. It's a formal thing. You apply, you need a survey, you have to notify your neighbors, you have to review.
They did. Back years ago, they did.
I haven't seen,
Wait, are we talking about
We're talking about back in 2010,
for an? for this
11.
that should have been
particular-
presented. I haven't seen,
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen anything like that. I haven't seen anything. I've been up there many times in that sixth floor, of that
I mean, it's.
Montpelier.
Well, I don't think it's an Act 250 permit, it was a town permit, right, Peter? I beg pardon? Back, it was before your time, but it was probably 10, 20 years ago.
The blue vinyl siding,
Yes,
it was in 84.
84.
Yeah, I don't remember who owned it.
I don't think all this, I don't think all this is relevant.
It was a town, they applied for a permit from the town to do what they came and had a formal hearing. And we approved the vinyl siding.
Okay. So follow the plan now,
I'm just,
follow the plan now and apply. And see if that, in fact, with everything else, the vital signing is.
No, but I go back to the apply piece of it. What if the town does not apply for that location? Does the Historic Society, seeing how you're a partner, do they have some sort of involvement in the say in it then?
I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just asking the people who are responsible to apply. Don't prejudge.
But what if they choose not to apply is the question I'm asking. What if we?
Well, then they're not following the plan.
Well, but the fact is that there was again, back in 1986, there was that survey. I understand it may have been a drive-by, as I understood at the last meeting. Be that as it may, 40 years again has lapsed before this has now come back to us.
Can I continue?
yes,
Second page. A letter from Nancy Boone, who I think is since retired. I don't know where her full badge is. Wrote a letter in 1984. Like many of the surveys in Bennington and McCown, the survey of Manchester is not comprehensive and lacks many eligible structures. Fast forward to page 79 of the May 6th Manchester plan, which recognizes on page 79, expansion of districts to include a number of non-contributing structures or contributing structures that had been excluded and delineated from districts is being contemplated. So they recognize that there are possible structures out there or properties that would be in the state register.
There are a lot of structures in the town of Roll. I mean, there's structures. I know all around town there are old structures. Freddie Wyman was born in one. Janice Wide Awake was born in one. There's a lot of old structures built in the 1800s, but aren't on the list.
Right.
And again, it's.
You're doing everything, your questions, I don't mean to be interpreting, everything to do but apply what you're responsible for in the plan. It was voted unanimously 6 months ago. You're doing everything you can to avoid the issue of applying and allowing that permit to go through and destroy the fire plot.
That would be, if I'm reading this correctly, though, we're the Development Review Board. In this here, it says town staff, planning commission, and design advisory committee. We're the Development Review Board. We go by the ordinance.
Right.
Design advisory board, if they want to get on board and start listing historic spots, that's, they can do that.
Again, everything you
If
said
the
is,
staff wants to do that, they can. If the planning board wants to get together and create more historic, put more historic buildings on it, they can.
and if you want to let this permit go through and demolish that building, then you're cutting off any opportunity they have if they do apply.
Again, I understand that, but the problem is, if it's not this, in my mind, I can ask the attorney, but in my mind, if it's not on the list now, and we're hearing this now, we can't hold an applicant up for a year, 6 months, a year or 2 years to hopefully it might get on the list. Because when you apply for a permit, you're applying for a permit as the ordinance is written at that point in time.
And the plan.
And the plan. The ordinance is what we go by. The town plan is a guideline to get to the ordinance.
Even though the town plan was passed after the ordinance.
That's correct.
And the ordinance refers to the town plan. So anyway,
Okay, I'll let you continue.
I don't want you to keep talking and then cut me off.
No, that's fine.
Well, the next page is, you'll see an arrow to it's called a wayside exhibit, but it's an interpretive panel in the historic district. Here's the executive. This was a big celebration when this was dedicated. Executive, we have pictures up there. Well, I'll go back. That's the actual unveiling. That's the select board unveiling it. And that's the Champlain Valley National Heritage Partners who supported this. Here's part of the crowd that was there in the district. Here's the executive director of the chamber. That's sort of an embarrassing slide to put up, but anyway, and there's and here's executive director of Hildene. It was all about the Civil War area. Of course, that's Seth. And if you recognize the person with the hat, well, anyway, and there's the wayside exhibit. So it was a big deal to put that in. And now if you keep going to that, the actual, no, maybe the other way. That's it. That took a year of the Manchester Historical Society and the State Preservation Group, Preservation Trust of Vermont, Select Board did a very important thing. They said, don't make it Manchester Historic District. Said, make it Manchester Depot. Very important because it's an area. And
You said the state preservation, not just local, but state? Did you just say state? In terms of this this particular information?
oh, absolutely.
So what state organization are you referring to?
One is on the 6th floor of
No,
the
just-
National Life Building.
So the Vermont State.
State
Historical-
Historical Preservation Office.
Okay, so they were,
STPO,
so they were involved in the creation of this as well as,
the correction of it,
Correct.
the editing of it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we went through all the files and it was exhaustive. This was no showpiece. This showed the interest in the area and to expand the depot to include its original area. And the map on the lower left, it's hard to see. It's from Beers, 1869. That shows the railroad station, which is on the State Register of Historical Places. It also shows the Fullerton Marble Works, which is now the Miles offices, and it shows Bradley Store. And it shows no other building in the historic district. So this building is older than the buildings in the historic district. The next page on this, because I'll move fast here. I hope it's here, the Vermont Register of Historic Places. It shows that R.K. Miles, Manchester Depot history. This building, the Firefly, is between those two. The railroad station is on the State Historic District. So it's a logical extension of the historic district to try and include the Firefly. The next picture, approximate view from the Firefly, is of the Manchester Railroad Station. It's still in existence at Miles. Every time you go into Miles, you see it. The next page is the Sanborn map, 1909. Notice how it looks horizontal. Manchester Depot runs right through the Firefly. Apply, apply, apply. And apply doesn't mean it has to be on the state register or anything, just apply. The next one is the significance of the depot area, which is part of the definition of historic property, not structures. And this was manager John O'Keefe at the time, Civil War and Depot Historic Area. Notice how he didn't say historic district, he said historic area, intended audience. The reference to historic areas for Depot Street, not the depot.
That's the same as what was in the first pack.
The last page. That is, demolish the Firefly is contrary to the purpose and terms of this section, actions and to apply for the expansion of the historic district, and is contrary to allowing town staff and others to apply, which would be fulfilling their responsibility. I can send all this stuff digitally. This. Here's this. Yes. I have extra copies. You can. Means interesting. This is quick. This is also from the Manchester town plan. Arts and Culture, section 4.2. Sustain and build on Manchester's strong arts and cultural assets for the enrichment of residents and to attract visitors to town. The applicant has not shown that demolishing the screening of the Firefly building, which it provides, and exposing a gas station 1130 with its traffic and noise and fumes and air does not meet the terms of this to sustain and build Manchester arts assets, does not attract more visitors to visit the Arts at Tilting at Wills does not build and sustain tilting on arts business by exposing its outdoor exhibits and visitors to fumes, noise, and a gas station. And the next page is really just a screenshot of the actual plan, and it shows that tilting on windmills is no small operation. It's one of 7 galleries and permanent exhibits here in Manchester, and that's recognized in the plan. It was approved for the next 8 years. It was approved less than 8 months ago. And Stratton actually called it one of the New England's largest commercial art galleries. Almost done. Yeah, I ran out of sleep, so don't undo these clips or you're dead. Look at you guys. Nope. No clip. You can do what you want. The Manchester, now we're getting into the ordinance, as Tim would like. 115, the beginning of the Manchester Land Ordinance, unless specifically exempted in this ordinance, section 2.2, all land development, which includes demolishment, within the town of Manchester requires a zoning permit issued in accordance with this ordinance. Exemptions and limitations, except within the flood hazard overlay district, section 5.3 and section 12, or design review overlay, and this is within the design review overlay. Landowners do not need to obtain a zoning permit for various emergency repairs and so on. And it mentions the design review overlay. The next page. The purpose of the design review overlay. Preserve, maintain, and enhance the architectural integrity, historic character, quality of design and construction, aesthetics of streetscapes and buildings, walkability that support Manchester's visitor-based economy and vitality of the town. No mention of its status, whether it's a historic structure, historic property, on the state register, or anything. It's just protected. This is the core. This is the core of Manchester. No reference to the purpose. The applicant has not shown the demolishment of the Firefly building is in accordance with section 5.1. The applicant has not shown that demolishing an historic property, not structure, property. Structure is included in property. It preserves and maintains meanings and definitions. Core, I just went through this because I knew lawyers would be looking at it. Core is in our definition in the zoning ordinance. 5, historic property or resource as defined by the state means any building, structure, object, distance, district, area, or site that is significant in its history, architecture, archaeology, or culture of the state, its communities, or the nation, as set forth in 22 VSA 701. That's the definition of historic property. Makes no mention of its current status.
I just make a note, Dick, for a quick second on here, but the assumption here is that the applicant wants to preserve, maintain, and enhance. I mean, that's basically the reference behind this in my mind. There's an assumption that the applicant is looking to preserve, maintain, and enhance. It's not a requirement.
The assumption that the applicant wants to preserve it?
Right.
Well,
Or maintain it or enhance it.
he or she should read the ordinance.
No, if somebody chooses not to improve their property, they're not required to do that.
Unless if they have to follow the ordinance. That's, anyway, I'll go on. It's significant. I just went through that whole statement. And significant, is it and truly significant to local history? And there's a whole lot here. It's historic pride, national vision, other terms, architectural integrity, historical character, quality, all meet the requirements. Right, the next one is, well, I'll skip and I'll go to Manchester Depot. Again, it's the same, it's the area. Definition is the area. It goes right through 1909. Since 1909, this has been considered the depot. Even when this was approved, it said Manchester Depot, not historic district. Here's John O'Keefe's analysis. Notice how he uses Depot Street historic area. Depot Street, not Depot historic area.
Well, that was in the other packets too. This,
I duplicated. I didn't think,
I think this
you caught me.
we were discussing that in the design review.
let's let him finish first, then I'll take
And the next one is, the building is the same corner of the community. And again, my conclusion of this section was, although not needed to be a historic property to satisfy the purpose of 5.1. Remember, 5.1 just said preserve, maintain, and enhance the architectural integrity, et cetera, of the buildings and walkability and support of visitor-based economy and town core. It doesn't have to have any designation. It doesn't have to be formalized. That's just an extra bonus that it happens to be a historic property by state definition. Just one more. Bought my wrong shoes tonight. All right. All right, this is getting into, is the lawyer still there?
Yes.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Pay attention.
Yes, sir.
Wherever you are, you sound wonderful. Ooh, 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 ooh. This is where I think some confusion arised. And it came up at the development, development,
Advisory.
design,
Design.
advisory.
DAB as opposed to the DRB. Historic structure, there's a definition, 6.83. Demolition of a structure or part of a structure listed individually or as a contributing structure within a designated historic district in the National Register of Historic Places or Vermont Register of Historic will require the approval of the Development Review Board as a conditional use in accordance with section 3.3. And then it goes on, 6.83 only indicates who the reviewer is. It doesn't say if we don't review it, another board can review it or the zoning administrator can review it and he can do what he wants. He can just sign off and have a one-page application like this was, $115 and destroy a building. It still has to meet. This is nothing. It doesn't waive anything about not going through the ordinance. The applicant has not shown that Firefly building is in accordance with 5.1. 5.1, the purpose of the design overlay district. I repeat this, preserve, maintain, and enhance. That's the purpose. Section 6.8 only indicates the reviewer of record will be. It does not exempt other reviewers from not having to be in accord with the terms and conditions of the Manchester Land and Development Ordinance. And then my next one, if I can find it, the third one, this is the last page. This was the email I brought up before. November 6th, the zoning commission gave a permit to demolish it. It was since retracted, but on November 7th, planning and zoning said this permit has been issued administratively. It did not require a board's approval. I appealed that. And that was one of my appeals. So this is wrong. Just because it came from the planning and zoning, it was totally wrong.
And that's why you're here tonight.
That's why,
Well, that's why you
That's
can't
why
make
the
a design
applicant is here
review.
tonight. And it had to go to design review.
that's why I'm here and not watching a basketball game. All right, so that's wrong. Peter and I had a meeting and subsequent email exchange with Elizabeth Peoples, and I've met them, the people up there, for 25 years. As the building is not in the state or, this is planning and zoning saying, as the building is not listed in the state or national register of historic buildings, it is, nor is it located in one of the designated historic districts, the town has no authority in its bylaws to demolish the building. Of course it does. I just went through 20 of these. You got to live by there's no authority. He says he has no authority. There's no statement of what his authority is to demolish it. I understand your feelings on the matter, and despite the building's longstanding history, it has not been formalized. It doesn't matter whether it's formalized. It doesn't matter. It happens to be a bonus that it's an historic property. But this says, if you read this carefully, this is why I appeal. This is sad for Manchester. It's probably 2,000 structures in Manchester, or properties in Manchester, roughly, sheds and, outer buildings. 4 historic districts, pick a number, 50 buildings per, that's 200. Add in the design review area, maybe another 100. That leaves about 1,500 buildings that this statement says you just go to the planning and zoning department with 1-page application, no site plan, no nothing, and $1,500 or $115, and you can destroy your building within 5 days. That's.
Thank you very much.
Wait a second, I have to check if I have another one.
I'm worried.
Wait a second. Well, you always ask, you have new information. Okay. Okay. I do. I'm reporting that basketball game, so it's. I don't, this is all gonna flop. I'll pick it up. Let it flop. Great. No clips. I had staple screws. There you go. Welcome. Okay. Okay, good. I'll give it an extra in case I don't. Yeah. Oh. Thank you. Now that's Manchester. Right, FEMA zone. Applicant has not presented any documents why it does not believe it should have to check the FHO box on the application. It submitted an application without FHO, and the survey clearly shows FEMA zone is encroaching on the 0.65 acres of this demolition. This is a FEMA, and that's important for a couple of reasons, is because our ordinance, as opposed to the plan, Tim, says that the definitions will go to the more strict one of the state. And FEMA defines, it doesn't really matter, but in this case, the state definition of demolition is a little stricter. But this is the survey. It encroaches on the property, and I don't know what to do with this. It is, this is serious stuff, because if you know there's 2 retaining walls there, if you cut down a retaining wall, water will go that way. There was no grading plan presented. There was nothing. So I don't know. That's just an extra 2 cents.
It's a piece of paper.
Just permission to ignore. That's it. Sorry to take up so much time.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Is that because I got them all together?
Anything new from the audience?
If I can,
Yep.
I think before, so some of you will have to put up with the same thing again. I don't know who, you didn't get one, Tim. You got one, right, John?
Thank you.
And you got-
I have one, yes,
you
thank
not
you.
Get one. Oops. There.
I have one, yes.
And you come, we're all set. He's like a bit of a bumpkin coming after Dick. But I'll do my best. My name is Terry Lindsay. I'm the 3rd owner of Tilting at Windmills Gallery, which some of you have heard previously. It's 54 years old. It's on the corner of Depot Street and Highland Avenue. The gallery is, please note, exactly 30 feet from the proposed demolition of the Firefly. This old building provides a fantastic shield for my business. Noise, smells, and dirty air for my visitors and my art are protected by this building. It sets the theme to represent what people come to Vermont. And we all know what the tourist does for Manchester. And everybody that comes into the gallery says how much they love Vermont, how much they love the peace and quiet, the no lights, the no commotion. It's a treasured place, and it would be nice to keep it like this. No hustle bustle feelings, no hardcore marketing. So when this permit is being considered, I do hope the correct procedure that are written in the state requirements and in the EPA requirements are strictly adhered to, since I am in the mouth of this project, 30 feet from it. I am very worried about that. I will let you look at them to see what they require. Yes, it is an old building and not attractive, but this is what an old building looks like when it's been neglected. The building is old and needs continuous updating to make it a pleasant appearance. I do this every year with my building. If this permit is issued, I believe that close attention to the following ordinances should be considered. The Manchester Land Use and Land Development Ordinances as found in Section 9, Site Design Standards, in accordance to the Manchester Town Ordinance 9.1 purpose, I quote, "The purpose of this section is to establish site development, as Dick has already said, standards to protect the quality and life by preventing the land use and development from creating or contributing to adverse off-site impacts," which means me. The proposed demo, and I don't mean to be selfish and self-centered here, but it's other people too. So the proposed demolition will not follow the next state or stated ordinances for the Depot Historic District. 9.31 noise from being open to the street. I wasn't allowed to bring in a video. So I have, now I can't get to it. Sorry. I'll try it again someplace else. No. Guess I'm not very good at the phone. I can't get back to my photos. And I have a video of what it sounds like when you come into the building. It's quiet, it's peaceful, it's inviting. And I went out on the other side of the Firefly and recorded the sound from the road. I really wasn't aware of it until you had the site review. And when I was at the site review, I couldn't hear anybody talk. I couldn't see anything that was happening because there was so much confusion with the traffic going by. And without that building, that's exactly how it's going to feel when you come into the gallery. That's exactly how it's going to feel when you come into the depot area, which is the historic area, or whatever you want to call it. It's a peaceful, quiet, old area of the town. And it would be a shame to lose all that. Odors. There's a lot of odors from that road, along with the cars and the noise that comes from them. And then 9.34, if this facility should disappear, the vibrations, without the building being there, 30 feet, the gallery will certainly not be good for my old building or the art that's displayed. 9.3.7 ordinance air quality. The difference that will take place without a large building, presently the Firefly, shielding my business from the street and the industrial use that will be drastically changed. In closing, I had hoped to share a video, but I can't, and I can't get this, maybe if I try it again. No,
Sorry, those videos are,
you remember it?
that were emailed to the board.
Okay. But anyway, it's very loud. You can't hear yourself think, and I will be very disappointed if people come to visit and have to go through that experience of being next to a very noisy road and a smelly area. It will be very disappointing and will affect my area. Thank you.
Suzanne has her hand raised, so I don't know if she has some input she wants to give.
Suzanne?
I did. I just I wanted to thank Ms. Lindsay for her comments. I wanted to jump just as a real quick follow-up to a point that Mr. Smith raised. As to the flood hazard regulations, they are not applicable to removal of a structure or building in whole or in part, pursuant to 5.3.11(1) of the ordinance. So I just wanted to let the board know that that demolition is exempt from the FHL. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Can you explain what she just said?
That in the ordinance, it's the flood hazard does not come into play in that.
As a demo.
Right. Right. Sorry. Just coming back on, make sure. Are you all clear on it, or do you need additional?
My name's Chris Log.
I think we're clear. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you. Thank you to the board for taking the time this evening. I would like to read the following statement to support your findings of fact regarding the proposed demolition. Because the 575 Depot Street property is located within Manchester's Town Center District, it is subject to the standards of Section 4.3 of its Land Use and Development Ordinance. This section states that the Town Center District is intended to support compact, pedestrian-oriented, mixed-use development that reinforces traditional settlement patterns and community character. The existing building supports these qualities, and the demolition would permanently remove a structure that contributes to the district's character and would create a gap in the established streetscape. Further, Section 9 establishes site design standards intended to protect quality of life by preventing adverse off-site impacts associated with the land use and development. Potential impacts associated include disruption of the streetscape, loss of pedestrian scale enclosure, alteration of traditional settlement patterns, diminished continuity of building frontage, environmental impacts such as dust and vibration and noise, and broader effects on the community beyond the property line. Moreover, the Manchester Town Plan emphasizes preservation and adaptive reuse of buildings that contribute to community character, as well as reinvestment in existing structures to support walkability and local economic vitality. The building at 575 Depot Street contributes to the character of the town center district, and its demolition is not consistent with those adopted plan goals. Finally, demolition would permanently eliminate the existing structure and narrow the range of alternatives available for future review under the Land Use and Development Ordinance and this town plan. Thank you for the opportunity to place these facts into the record.
Thanks.
Bill Badger, I'm historic. I've heard an awful lot about it's not historic because it's not on some list. If the state did an inventory of the critters on North Meadow Farm and missed a cow, would it not be a cow anymore? It's still a cow. This building's historic. It's old. It was a critical part of the depot development. So just because it made or didn't make a flawed list doesn't mean it's not old. I'm hearing a lot about, well, this criteria, we have to meet this. That didn't work at Nuremberg. It didn't work for Lieutenant Calley. This board was appointed to sort of to protect Manchester so there's not a slaughterhouse next to a restaurant. And I think it's pretty obvious here, there's universal opposition to this. So figure out how to make it work and do what the town wants you to do, the people of the town, the people of the district. Their design review gives a lot of flexibility. And I don't think your hands should be tied because this isn't in a law, or that isn't in a law, of the ordinance. Figure out a way because you're going against what the town wants, what the people want. And there've been lots of ideas on how to do it. Come on, be creative, get rid of it.
Thanks.
The owner has said he wants to get rid of the building to bring his taxes down. Blank land is worth more for development than something with a building on it. So raise his taxes if he tears it down. Fix that problem.
Jim, anything new? No.
Hi, thank you. I want to thank the board and everyone here. I know this is a very serious decision, and I really appreciate how much attention you are all paying to the details of this. I grew up in Manchester and moved back to Manchester, and I think I just want to speak to the tone of these discussions that we're having. And I think in the perspective from above, from far away, to me, is that this is a unique conversation because of Manchester. And we're not in another town in most of the country, or even a large town such as Rutland, Bennington, that has had impact on their historic districts. And I can understand the frustrations from the seller faces in the fact that this is their property and there are rights in that. But the caveat is that Manchester is preserved under the zoning laws and the town plan and the ordinances in the way that it is. And that is why there is such opposition in this. And that is why we have this unique charm that continues to pull our economy and tourism here. And I think that I can empathize on both sides. I could imagine that it is very frustrating to be a seller and a property owner and want to push this through. But I also think this is coming from the interest, the historical, and I don't mean historical building, the historical town planning interests of Manchester and how zoning has been preserved, much unlike towns like Rutland, where you drive through the strip, you wouldn't even know there's a historic district, as well as Bennington. They also face this on Northside Drive, and North Bennington is basically not even the same part of the town. And it's a huge loss. And I just really appreciate the community members for representing and the board considering this, that this is really about how we want our town to be historically interpreted as well as presently and for the future of the laws that we write and we try to live by and continue to have for people my age who plan to spend the next 50, 60 years here in this town and keep it unique so it doesn't become something that you can kind of find everywhere. Thank you.
Thanks. Question, sir? Yeah.
I'd like to refer to Development Ordinance Section 4.3. We all know that Valvoline does not provide any added value to Manchester.
Not talking about Valvoline.
I'm speaking about Valvoline.
Not talking about Valvoline tonight. Valvoline has nothing to do with this application.
Oh, you're only referring to Fisher-Fly?
The only thing we're talking about tonight is the demolition of the building.
Okay,
It
fine.
has nothing to do with this project at all.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, not a problem. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'll just make a last comment. I can reject the demolition. That doesn't, sadly, to a lot of people, that doesn't turn, kill the Valvoline proposal. You'd be surprised how quickly they'll come up with a design that incorporates that building. I mean, look at the Hampton Inn and, I'm trying to think Dunkin' Donuts and some of these other, Stewart's. If you vote, it's not like killing Valvoline. It's just forcing them to come up with a different design that's more suitable to the area.
Okay.
Just a big distinction. It's not like it's the end all.
Thanks. Any questions for the board?
Not this time, no, not at this time.
Well, I'm sorry, any questions on the screen? I don't see any hands up. There's no more questions from the board.
I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. So we'll have a findings out. We have 45 days. Well, get a set of findings out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Understand Michael Allen is going to be.
Let's do it right.
Yeah.
Just what if we have-
So he called me up.
In the meeting.
Tell me what he was up to.
Closing the meeting. One or the other. I don't know. But I'm trying to get a sense of
It's
we get our.
but we can certainly should be fixed. So.
There's a bunch of.
Regardless, I think we should go into the figure out. Yeah, no, I just want to make sure we're officially closing. Do you go into deliberative? You don't have to put. You close the meeting after we're out.
That's right. See ya.
Mary made a motion. Mary made a motion to go.
You adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
We're going. Mary made a motion.
You want to keep the report?
Get my point. You know, I thought we were email.
Yeah, you. Okay. All right.
Good luck.
Recording stopped.
Out.